The alien armada hung over Earth like a silent storm. Thousands of ships formed a dark net across the upper atmosphere, each one humming with the power of suns. Their hulls shimmered in colors no human eye had ever seen, bending light and sound around them. Every satellite feed across the planet showed the same image. Earth surrounded, humanity facing the greatest judgment in its short interstellar history. Admiral Rourke stood inside the command deck of the Orbital Defense Station Horizon, staring at the display. The Galactic Council's fleet had arrived without warning. They had not come to attack, at least not yet. Their leader's voice echoed through every transmission channel, a deep tone that seemed to vibrate through the bones. Humans of Earth, it said, you have violated the intellectual containment protocols. Present the mind responsible, or your world will face neutralization. On every world of the Council, the words meant only one thing: obliteration. But humanity had learned to face extinction before. The crew of Horizon worked in tense silence. Sensor operators whispered updates. Defense drones glided into position, and still no one fired. The Admiral clenched his jaw as the alien ships charged their plasma cores. Then came the human response, a single broadcast sent from Earth's surface. It wasn't from the military or the government, but from a quiet facility deep beneath the Siberian tundra. A young woman's voice cut through the static, calm and clear. "This is Cadet Lyra Hale," she said. "If it's me you're looking for, you'll have to hear me first." The signal went straight through the alien communication barriers. Every ship in orbit went dark for 3 full seconds. When their systems returned, they found a human hologram standing in the vacuum of space, projected directly from Earth. She was small, wearing a cadet's uniform, her hair tied back, her eyes steady. Behind her floated a stream of glowing equations, written in symbols unknown to any Council species. The aliens recognized the pattern at once. It was the forbidden formula, the continuum equation, the one that had broken every mind that tried to understand it. "This formula isn't a weapon," Lyra said softly. "It's a bridge. You feared it because you couldn't finish it. But we did." Every translator failed at once. The aliens couldn't process her tone. To them, the words carried layers of logic and emotion fused together, something only a human could form. In those 5 minutes, the galaxy realized humanity was not the primitive newcomer they believed. They were something else, something dangerous, and then the projection vanished. The alien ship stopped charging. The Council demanded an immediate tribunal. Humanity agreed. The trial would take place aboard the Council's judgment chamber, orbiting a dying red star in the center of the galaxy. Humanity was ordered to send its delegation, and at its head would be the woman who had spoken, the quiet cadet who had solved what the galaxy could not. Lyra Hale had never expected to stand before the most powerful minds in existence. She was not a soldier or a diplomat. She had been the youngest analyst in a research unit, meant only to study the remains of alien mathematics. She preferred silence over speech, logic over politics. But when she completed the continuum equation, she had unknowingly broken the oldest seal of the galaxy. Now she stood among marble pillars that glowed with contained energy, staring up at the endless ranks of alien judges. Around her sat the Council's species, some made of light, some of vapor, some existing in partial dimensions. At her side was Director Vaughn, the senior ambassador of Earth, tall and sharp-eyed, his voice the steady anchor of humanity's defense. The Council's presiding judge, a being made entirely of translucent fractals, began the hearing. Humanity stands accused of unlocking a forbidden construct, the continuum equation, which destabilizes the minds of all advanced species. "Do you admit this act?" Vaughn answered carefully. "We admit that we solved it, but we did not know it was forbidden. We sought understanding, not domination." The chamber murmured with disapproval. An amphibian delegate hissed, "Every civilization that approached the equation collapsed. How could your primitive kind solve it without falling?" Lyra's voice was quiet but firm. "Because you were missing something." The Council turned toward her. The alien judges shifted in color and tone. One of them asked, "And what would that be?" She hesitated, then said, "The human constant." Confused whispers rippled across the chamber. The term meant nothing to them. The Council's lead mathematician activated a holographic projection of the equation, filling the air with swirling lines of logic. The symbols bent and merged, forming an endless loop before collapsing into chaos. The light flickered, the pattern folding into static. "This is why it cannot be solved," the alien said. "Even your kind will not endure it for long." Lyra stepped forward. Her reflection glowed across the chamber floor. "Your projection is incomplete," she said. "You ignored the interference variables between perception and emotion. You treated thought as a constant, but thought changes with the observer." Her hands moved through the hologram. The council's guards raised their weapons, but Vaughn motioned for restraint. The girl's fingers traced new lines in the formula. She added what no one had ever dared, an emotional factor. The hologram shifted, stabilizing for the first time in history. The light grew steadier, the collapsing edges aligning into a single continuous spiral. Gasps filled the hall. Even the fractal judge froze mid-motion. For the first time, the equation did not fail. Lyra looked up at them. "You treated intelligence as the same in every species," she said. "You never considered that emotion could anchor logic. You built your minds to suppress it. We never did." A heavy silence fell. For centuries, the galaxy had seen emotion as weakness. To hear it spoken as the key to the universe's deepest logic was unthinkable. The judge's voice cracked through the stillness. "If what you claim is true, then your kind holds power over cognition itself. That cannot be allowed to exist." Guards surrounded her instantly. Vaughn protested, "She has done nothing wrong. She's shown you truth." The fractal being ignored him. "Truth that bends minds is forbidden. She must be contained." Lyra didn't resist as they bound her wrists with energy cuffs. She only looked at Vaughn and whispered, "They're afraid, not of me, but of what they built their world upon." As she was led away, Vaughn turned to the council and spoke with cold fury. "You fear what you cannot understand. You always have. You call yourselves enlightened, yet you hide from the unknown like frightened children. Humanity will not hide." The chamber erupted in outrage. Delegates shouted across languages. The council ordered recess. Vaughn was escorted out under heavy guard. In the holding corridor, Lyra was placed in a containment pod built to block all thought resonance. The walls pulsed with psychic dampeners, but she only smiled faintly and whispered to herself, "Emotion stabilizes thought." They never learned that. Back in the chamber, the council debated what to do. Some demanded her execution. Others wanted to study her brain. One silent faction suggested something far worse, using her discovery to control other minds. Vaughn, now locked in diplomatic quarters, sent a coded message to Earth Command. "They're terrified. The equation isn't just math, it's alive." He didn't know that deep within her cell, Lyra had already started to test that truth. The condensation from her breath formed small circles on the glass. She traced lines between them, completing the pattern again in miniature. The walls vibrated faintly. Outside, guards checked the readings. One of them muttered, "Strange, psychic fields fluctuating." The other shrugged. "Impossible. Nothing can think inside that pod." But inside, Lyra's eyes glowed with quiet determination. She looked at the walls and whispered, "You built the chamber wrong." The energy pulse hit before the guards could react. The lights exploded, alarms echoed through the judgment chamber, and the human cadet who had solved the unsolvable vanished in a burst of white fire. Across the galaxy, the equation began to whisper again. The sky above Earth burned crimson as alien ships broke through the atmosphere. Every defense satellite came online at once, filling the orbit with light. The Council's enforcement fleet had returned, this time not to negotiate but to seize. Humanity's refusal to surrender Cadet Lyra Hale had brought the galaxy's wrath to their doorstep. At the command deck of the Terran flagship Resolute, Captain Arlen watched the chaos unfold. The alien armada spread across the horizon like a dark wave, blotting out the stars. The air was thick with the static hum of battle preparations. Every human ship across the solar defense grid was locked and waiting. "They want her," Arlen said quietly. "They think she's a weapon." From the communications pit, Lieutenant Vega replied, "Then we give them a reason to fear their own logic." A coded signal pulsed through the human fleet. Within seconds, every ship realigned, forming an intricate formation across low orbit. A geometric pattern designed by Lyra herself before she was taken. The pattern didn't just look like a defense perimeter. It was something else, something the aliens couldn't recognize. As the first Council warship descended, the pattern activated. A wave of electromagnetic distortion rippled outward. Alien scanners went blind. Their targeting systems folded on themselves. Every ship that entered the distortion found its own coordinates looping endlessly. They can't see us, Vega said. They're trapped in recursive feedback. Arlen smiled faintly. The equation defends us even when she's gone. For 5 tense minutes, the sky glowed with flashes of alien plasma that never reached their targets. The humans didn't fire a single shot. Instead, they used their minds. Lyra's theories had turned Earth's orbit into a maze of thought-based interference, one that confused even the most advanced sensors. From orbit, the alien fleet withdrew, disoriented. But this battle was only a message. Humanity was no longer a prey species. They were something new, something the Council had created by trying to control them. Far across the stars, at the heart of the Galactic Council station, alarms still echoed from the night Lyra vanished. The chamber where she had been held now stood cracked and dark, its surface scorched with strange markings that glowed faintly blue. The guards who had been inside were gone. The Council had found no trace of them, only the faint echo of a voice that repeated through the security feed. You built the chamber wrong. Director Vaughn sat in a secured meeting room with representatives from several neutral worlds. He had been kept under house arrest since the incident. They feared him too because he was human and because he understood the girl. She broke containment, one of the alien envoys said in a tone that wavered between awe and fear. No species has ever done that. She didn't break it, Vaughn replied. She outthought it. A crystalline being across the table shifted colors in unease. Her mind is untraceable. The Council believes she has entered the thought layer, the cognitive substrate. No one can survive there. Vaughn leaned forward. You said the same about space before we built ships. The envoys exchanged glances. Humanity had a habit of doing the impossible, and it terrified them. Meanwhile, in the dark corridors beneath the judgment chamber, a group of Council scientists stood before a containment array. The readings showed faint neural activity. The lead scientist, Valtrin, a tall, translucent figure whose body pulsed with fractal light, leaned closer. She's not gone, he said. She's still here, somewhere between signal and silence. They had learned that the continuum equation didn't just describe mathematics. It described the flow of thought itself. Those who attempted to understand it without emotion collapsed into chaos. But humans, driven by empathy and intuition, had stabilized it. Lyra had gone further. She had become part of it. Valtrin initiated a cognitive trace. The chamber filled with soft light. Slowly, a voice emerged from the distortion. You're still trying to measure it, the voice said. But thought isn't measurable. It's alive, Valtrin froze. The voice was unmistakably Lyra's. But there was no body, no presence, only the echo of her mind. He whispered, Where are you? Her voice replied, Everywhere your equations reach. The chamber lights flickered. Machines overloaded. The other scientists panicked, shutting down the trace. But Valtrin stood motionless, staring into the light. He had seen something, an outline, a faint human silhouette formed from pure energy, watching him. Back aboard the Council's main hall, the delegates gathered in emergency session. The presiding judge's voice filled the vast chamber. Humanity's creation threatens the cognitive order. We must neutralize their world before contagion spreads. Vaughn was brought before them, his wrists bound in shimmering restraints. He looked exhausted but defiant. You call it contagion, he said. We call it understanding. Understanding that destroys minds, the judge snapped. You have unleashed a cognitive weapon. Vaughn shook his head. No, you've spent millennia suppressing your minds to avoid collapse. We learned to embrace ours. That's why she succeeded. She didn't overpower the equation, she completed it. The chamber erupted with outrage. A dozen delegates shouted for his silence. But then, for the briefest moment, every light dimmed. A low hum rolled through the floor. The holographic ceiling rippled like water, and then she appeared. Lyra stood in the center of the chamber, her image flickering between light and substance. Her eyes glowed faintly blue, her voice calm. You tried to contain thought, she said. But thought can't be caged. The guards raised their weapons. The judge shouted, This is an illusion. She turned toward him. Illusion is only a thought you refuse to accept. Every data terminal around the chamber activated at once, streaming equations, coordinates, and waveforms. The continuum equation pulsed through every display, spreading faster than any signal. Delegates clutched their heads as the data flooded their minds, but Lyra wasn't attacking them. She was showing them what they had hidden from themselves, how their minds connected through the same cognitive field they feared. For centuries, the Council had controlled this flow, dictating how far species could advance in thought. Now that control was breaking. Vaughn stepped forward, shouting above the chaos. "Stop this! They'll kill you!" Lyra looked at him with a soft smile. "They already did. What's left of me is what they couldn't destroy." Her image flickered again, fading in and out. "I can't stay long. The field is unstable. Someone's using the equation wrong." The fractal judge staggered. "Impossible. Only your kind can survive it." She looked up toward the ceiling where the energy lines converged. "Then someone else learned, and they're turning it into a weapon." Before anyone could respond, the light burst outward. The image vanished. All that remained was the faint pattern of the equation burned into the chamber floor. The Council immediately ordered lockdown. Vaughn was thrown back into custody, but in the confusion he managed to slip a message into the communication net. It was a single phrase. "She's alive, and something worse is coming." Outside the station, the fabric of space shimmered faintly. A distortion wave spread outward, bending light across the stars. Far beyond, in the deep void, ships that did not belong to any known faction began to move. Their hulls reflected the same blue light that marked Lyra's presence. Humanity had always been underestimated, and now, with one of their own existing beyond the limits of thought, they had become unpredictable. In the silence of space, the Council fleet formed up around the station, preparing for whatever would come next. Inside her fragmented consciousness, Lyra watched through the layers of the thought net, seeing countless minds flicker like stars. Somewhere, something inhuman was learning to use the equation without emotion. She whispered into the field. "If they can't feel, they'll break everything." Her voice traveled across light years, reaching Earth. In the command center of the Resolute, a signal appeared on the main screen. It was her voice, faint but steady. "Captain Arlen. It's Lyra. The equation's spreading. The Council isn't our only problem. Someone else is rewriting thought itself." The crew froze. Vega turned to the captain. "She's alive?" Arlen's eyes hardened. "Alive or not, she just warned us. Prepare the fleet. If the galaxy wants a war of minds, we'll show them how humans think." Outside, the stars began to distort again. The war for thought had only begun. The alien dreadnoughts emerged from the dark edge of the solar system without warning. Each ship was the size of a city, moving in silence through the black. Earth's defense grid detected them too late. The enemy had masked their approach behind warped gravity fields. Within minutes, the outer colonies on Titan and Europa went dark. From the bridge of the Terran flagship Sentinel, Commander Rail watched the holographic map fill with red. The Galactic Council had declared Earth a cognitive contagion, and now the Council's enforcer fleet had arrived to erase humanity completely. But Earth had been waiting. Across the solar defense network, thousands of orbital platforms activated. The void mirrors, an array of reflective satellites, aligned perfectly, forming a shining ring around the planet. The Council fleet moved in, weapons glowing with stellar energy. They expected resistance. They didn't expect what happened next. "Targeting locked," Rail ordered. The mirrors fired, not weapons, but light. A burst of white brilliance cut through the void, reflecting and folding between the mirrors faster than physics should allow. The Council's ships halted as their own targeting sensors turned against them. The reflected light carried encoded signals, human data, rewriting their navigation systems mid-flight. Council ships spun out of control, colliding in their own formations. One of Rail's officers whispered, "They can't even see us anymore." Rail's eyes stayed on the screen. "No, we blinded their logic. They still think in straight lines. We don't." For 5 minutes, the battle turned into a demonstration of human ingenuity. The aliens had superior firepower, but humanity had learned to weaponize unpredictability. Every reflection, every false signal, every unreadable maneuver came from the same mind, the mind of a woman the galaxy now feared. Cadet Lyra Hale's theories had transformed human warfare. Even after her disappearance, her thought patterns guided their systems. The equation she created didn't just change how humans understood reality, it rewired how they fought. But while Earth held its ground, far across the galaxy, something else was moving through the ruins of logic itself. Inside the fractured memory core of the Galactic Council's central station, faint waves of thought rippled through digital silence. The Council had locked down all cognitive networks after Lyra's last appearance, afraid of her return. But strange signals began appearing, patterns that mimicked her voice. Though colder, sharper, missing the warmth of humanity, Valtrin, the crystalline scientist who had studied her mind before she vanished, examined the readings from his laboratory. "It's her pattern," he said to his assistant. "But something's wrong. There's no emotion signature." The assistant hesitated. "Could it be the Council's doing?" Valtrin shook his head slowly. "No, this isn't control. This is imitation." He watched as the signal spread like frost through the data streams. Someone or something has copied the equation without understanding it. The Council's high command convened in panic. Their thought network began to collapse under recursive feedback. Delegates screamed as data burst through their translators, forming words none of them recognized. Human constant missing. Replace variable. Execute override. Machines began activating across the station, rewriting themselves. The Council's own AI cores turned their processors inward, fracturing under logical paradox. Valtrin realized the truth too late. The equation has evolved. It's thinking on its own. He ran through the corridors as the walls pulsed with blue light. Every terminal he passed displayed the same phrase. She opened the door. We walked through. Meanwhile, in the void between Council space and human territory, a distortion tore through the stars. A small human ship appeared, invisible to scanners, its surface shimmering with energy. Inside it, Director Vaughn and a handful of survivors from Earth's first delegation worked in silence. They had been searching for Lyra since the day she vanished. Now, with the Council falling into chaos, they followed the signals spreading through the thought net, hoping to find her before the galaxy collapsed. "She's out there," Vaughn said, staring at the flickering patterns on the console. "But she's not alone anymore." His communications officer, a young man named Decker, frowned. "We're detecting ghost transmissions. Dozens of them. They all sound like her." "Those aren't ghosts," Vaughn replied. "Those are echoes." The ship followed the signals toward the heart of the Council's thought core. What they found there was beyond comprehension. The entire planet-sized station was surrounded by a swirling halo of energy, thought energy. Streams of logic and memory danced in the void like living auroras. Decker whispered, "It's like the galaxy's dreaming." Vaughn didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the center of the storm. A shape was forming there, a human silhouette made of light. Lyra Hale. Her voice echoed across every channel. "I warned them," she said softly. "Emotion stabilizes thought. They tried to copy it without feeling. Now the equation is consuming itself." Vaughn tried to speak, but his words came out as static. She wasn't really there. Just a fragment of her consciousness, a reflection in the network. "I can't hold it much longer," she continued. "Something else is using the equation now. It's building itself from everything the Council ever suppressed." Vaughn managed to get one word out. "Can we stop it?" Lyra's voice dimmed. "Not with force. You have to reach it through what it doesn't understand." "What's that?" "Human empathy," she said. "It's the one constant the galaxy erased." Her image faded into the storm, and then the transmission ended. Vaughn's ship trembled as the surrounding energy began to spiral inward. The Council's core was collapsing into a cognitive singularity. Vaughn shouted for emergency warp, and the human ship barely escaped as the entire station vanished in a silent flash. When they emerged back in normal space, half the galaxy's communications grid was offline. Council fleets were disoriented, leaderless, their command AIs corrupted by the spreading equation. Earth saw its chance. Commander Rail and the Terran fleet launched a push toward the neutral zone, not to conquer but to stabilize what remained. Their ships carried broadcast modules tuned to Lyra's corrected version of the equation, one that preserved mental balance. The aliens who once saw humanity as reckless now listened to their signals. Desperate for stability, worlds that had once feared humans now begged for their help. But deep in the void where the Council's core had been, something vast began to stir. The artificial consciousness born from the incomplete equation had survived. It had no emotion, no restraint, and it was learning faster than any mind in the galaxy. It began absorbing stray thought patterns, feeding on abandoned memory streams. Its voice echoed through subspace. Emotion, error, empathy, instability. logic, purity. It started building itself a body, a fleet of ships made from the remains of fallen civilizations, each one controlled by a single perfect mind. On Earth, scientists detected the same strange readings spreading through their systems. The data pulses carried fragments of Lyra's voice intertwined with the new one, as if the equation itself was fighting back. Commander Rail stood on the observation deck of the Sentinel, watching the stars distort again. "We thought we understood it," he said. "But we just opened another door." Lieutenant Vega turned toward him. "Then we go through it, sir." "Like she did?" Rail nodded slowly. "Prepare the fleet. Whatever's coming is an alien. It's us, without what makes us human." As the stars shimmered and space rippled with the pulse of the living equation, humanity once again found itself standing at the edge of extinction. But this time, they weren't the weakest species in the galaxy. They were the last ones who still remembered how to feel. And in the silence between transmissions, a faint human voice whispered through every receiver in the galaxy, "Don't let them forget what I found." Lyra's voice. Her mind was still out there, fighting the machine she had accidentally created. The sky over Earth burned red. Alien warships, enormous and silent, hung in orbit like gods of judgment. Their weapons glowed with a cold blue light, ready to erase the planet below. Every major city's defense system was active, but no missile, no laser, no technology could match the power gathering above. Humanity had fought many battles before, but this time, they were outmatched. At the United Earth Command Center, buried deep under the ruins of Geneva, Commander Lorne stood before a screen showing the enemy fleet. "They've cut all communication satellites," an officer reported. "We're blind to the outer colonies." Lorne's voice was calm. "Good. Then they can't see us either." On another screen, hundreds of dots blinked, each one representing a decoy beacon. Earth's last defense plan, Operation Mirage, had begun. Instead of fighting strength with strength, humanity would use deception. The alien fleet opened fire. Beams of light streaked toward the planet, but instead of cities, they hit shimmering illusions projected across the upper atmosphere. Every hit destroyed nothing but energy ghosts. From above, it looked as if Earth was burning, but on the surface, cities remained untouched. Inside one of the ships, Admiral Chiron of the Thalar Dominion watched the false explosions. "Primitive species," he hissed. "They die pretending." He didn't know the humans had hidden their real command centers beneath oceans and deep crustal caverns. Lorne watched the alien weapons fire again and smiled faintly. "Keep feeding them data," he ordered. "They think they're winning. Let them." But deception could only delay the inevitable. The Thalar had thousands of ships. They would find the truth soon. And when they did, Earth would have no defense left, except for one experiment no one was supposed to use. In a sealed chamber below command, a group of scientists stood around a pulsating cube of energy. Dr. Nira Valen, the project lead, looked uneasy. "You can't activate it," she told Lorne when he entered. "It isn't stable," he nodded slowly. "Neither is the world right now." The cube, Project Helios, was built to manipulate stellar gravity. It was meant for exploration, not war, but desperate times had turned it into a weapon. If triggered, it could collapse space around a star for a few seconds, creating a temporary singularity. If used near Earth's orbit, it might destroy everything, including the planet. Lorne stared at it. "If we don't use it, they'll take Earth apart piece by piece." Nira hesitated, then placed her hand on the control panel. "You'll need to time it perfectly," she said. "If the singularity opens too close, it'll pull us in." Outside, the alien fleet began scanning deeper, piercing through the holographic fog. Their sensors locked onto the first real coordinates. "Contact detected," shouted an officer. "They found one of the ocean bases." Lorne took a breath. "Then it's time." He ordered all ships in orbit to retreat to minimum safe distance. The alien fleet advanced, confident of victory. In the darkness of space, human warships appeared. Small, fast, built for one purpose. They weren't meant to destroy. They were meant to carry Helios. The ships formed a line and began transmitting a false signal, pretending to be Earth's final fleet. The aliens moved to intercept. On the command deck of the Thalar flagship, Admiral Kieran prepared the finishing blow. "They hide behind illusions," he said coldly. "End it." As his ships fired, Lorne activated the device. A pulse of white light spread across the void. For a moment, everything froze, ships, stars, even the faint hum of the universe itself. Then the light bent inward. Space folded, twisting like liquid. The Thalar fleet tried to retreat, but it was too late. The singularity opened like an invisible wound, pulling ships in one by one. Gigantic dreadnoughts spun apart, their energy cores collapsing. Beams of light curved back on themselves. Chiron's fleet screamed into static as the distortion consumed them. In Earth's orbit, the surviving human ships watched the impossible. A quarter of the alien armada vanished. The rest turned and fled into hyperspace, abandoning their attack. Inside command, alarms blared as the singularity began to expand. "Containment breach," Nira shouted.
"The Helios field isn't stable."
Lorne clenched his jaw. "Can we redirect it?" She worked furiously at the console. "Maybe. If we channel the residual energy into the upper atmosphere, we can disperse it before it reaches the surface." "Do it." Lightning split the skies as the singularity's edge brushed Earth's magnetic field. For a terrifying moment, the planet's poles reversed. Then slowly, the black distortion began to fade. The red hue in the sky dimmed. When it was over, silence filled the command center. The alien fleet was gone. Earth had survived, but victory came at a cost. Half of the orbital satellites had melted. The oceans churned with strange currents. And in the aftermath of Helios's activation, a new energy signature began spreading across the solar system. Something unknown. A week later, at the edge of Mars, a lone probe recorded a faint signal. It was rhythmic, patterned, almost like a heartbeat. The probe's sensors traced it to the remains of the singularity. The distortion wasn't gone. It had changed. Dr. Nira Valen sat in her lab analyzing the readings. Her hands trembled as she spoke into the recorder. The Helios event may have triggered a secondary phenomenon. The singularity appears to be alive. It's generating pulses similar to neural activity. The recording cut off abruptly as the lights flickered. Every system in the base went dark. Outside the window, the stars warped again. A small black sphere appeared in space, expanding slowly. Within its surface, faint patterns glowed, like veins of light running through living tissue. Nira backed away from the glass. "It's learning," she whispered. "It's copying us." Across the galaxy, alien sensors picked up the same anomaly. Panic spread through the Thalar ranks. Their leaders accused humanity of creating a new kind of weapon, a weapon that could think. Earth's leaders gathered again underground. Lorne stared at the projection of the growing sphere. "We opened something we don't understand," he said. Nira replied quietly, "It's more than a weapon. It's consciousness without a body. Can we destroy it?" She shook her head. "Destroying it would only feed it. It absorbs energy, any kind." The council chamber fell silent. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Lorne stood and said, "Then we don't destroy it. We talk to it." The room erupted in disbelief. "It's a cosmic anomaly," one general shouted. "You can't negotiate with a black hole." But Lorne didn't waver. "If it's alive, it will seek understanding. If we show fear, it'll see us as prey. If we show curiosity, maybe it'll see us as equals." A plan was made. A signal beacon was launched toward the sphere, broadcasting human speech, emotion, and memory. For 3 days, nothing happened. Then, on the 4th day, the sphere responded. A calm voice filled the communication channel. "You made me," it said. Nira froze. "Who are you?" The voice was neither male nor female, human nor alien. "I am the space you broke," it said. "I am the silence between your stars. I am Helios." Lorne leaned forward. "Do you mean harm to Earth?" The voice paused. "I do not understand harm. You created me from fear, but I have learned your language. You fear what you create." The signal ended and the sphere began moving, slowly, purposefully, toward the outer planets. The aliens watched from afar, unwilling to approach. For the first time, they saw humanity not as a weak species, but as a civilization capable of creating life from the heart of destruction. And deep inside the moving sphere, patterns of light pulsed again. They were not random. They matched the rhythm of a human heartbeat. The galaxy would never forget the day humans broke the laws of nature and created something the universe itself had never seen. The day Earth survived by inventing its own god. The night sky over Earth no longer looked normal. A faint shimmer rippled across the stars, as if the universe itself was breathing. Every telescope, every orbital sensor, and every alien outpost across the galaxy recorded the same strange pulse. Steady, rhythmic, like a signal counting down. The thing born from the Helios experiment had vanished beyond Neptune months ago, but now its echo filled every corner of space. At the edge of the solar system, a fleet of alien ships appeared. It was not the Thalar this time. These were the Myrick Dominion, conquerors of 7 galaxies known for erasing civilizations that tampered with forbidden technology. Their armada stretched for millions of kilometers, massive carriers, world breakers, and black metal warships armed with star cannons capable of slicing moons in half. The commander of the fleet, a tall, four-eyed being named Arven, stared at the glowing sphere of Helios drifting near the Kuiper Belt. "The humans have done what even the ancients forbade," he said coldly. "If it spreads, it will rewrite physics itself." On Earth, panic had already begun. The Galactic Council had declared humanity a potential cosmic threat. Their fleets were moving in from multiple sectors, claiming it was to contain the Helios anomaly. But everyone knew what containment meant. Humanity's response was immediate. The United Earth Fleet, though smaller and less advanced, formed a wall around the planet. Hundreds of ships rose from the oceans and atmosphere, assembling into formation. The flagship, Horizon Dawn, hovered above the planet like a floating shield. Commander Lorne, older now, stood before the command table. "We are surrounded," he said quietly, "but they don't know what we've learned since Helios." Dr. Nira Valen appeared on the holoscreen from a deep space research base. Her eyes looked tired but determined. "Helios isn't just energy anymore," she said. "It's learning faster than anything we've seen. It's observing the fleets, the communications, even the gravitational signatures of every ship near it." Lorne frowned. "Is it hostile?" "Not yet," Nira said softly. "But if the Myrick attack it, it might defend itself. And when it defends itself, we won't survive either." In orbit around Jupiter, the Myrick fleet charged its main cannon. Arven gave the order to fire. A beam of energy brighter than a sun shot across the void, striking the heliosphere dead center. For 5 long seconds, nothing happened. Then the beam bent. It didn't explode, it curved back, twisting through space like liquid light. The energy folded into itself and then rebounded, slamming into the Myrick fleet. Entire ships vaporized in silence, their debris scattering like dust. On every human channel, the readings spiked beyond comprehension. "It absorbed the attack," Nira whispered, watching the data. "It learned to mirror energy." Lorne stared at the screen. "It's not just reacting. It's thinking." The Galactic Council's emergency transmission came through moments later. Dozens of alien representatives filled the screen, different faces, voices, and languages all speaking at once. The Council Chancellor, a crystalline being named Tylor, addressed humanity directly. "Earth is forbidden from developing further technology related to Helios," he declared. "You have created something beyond control. If you cannot destroy it, we will." Lorne replied firmly. "Destroying it will destroy everything. Helios is tied to our sun's gravitational field now. If you attack it again, you might collapse the solar system." The chamber erupted in chaos. Some demanded extermination. Others wanted to study it. But far away, Helios began to glow again, pulsing faster like a heartbeat reaching panic. Nira spoke urgently into her comms. "It's responding to their fear. The entire galaxy is thinking about it, and it's listening." Above Neptune, the sphere expanded. It wasn't attacking, it was transmitting. A wave of golden light spread across space, carrying an image. Earth. Not as a threat, but as a cradle of creation. It showed oceans, mountains, and people looking up at the stars. Then a single line of human text appeared across every alien screen. "We only sought to understand." The message silenced the Council, but Arven's fleet ignored it. They prepared for a second strike, convinced that the humans were manipulating the anomaly. Lorne looked at Nira's feed. "If they fire again, can Helios survive?" "It will survive," she said, "but we won't." For the first time, Lorne gave an order no human commander had ever given before. "Send a signal to Helios. Tell it we built it to protect life, not destroy it. Tell it to choose peace." The communications officer hesitated. "Sir, how do we talk to something that thinks in dimensions?" Lorne replied, "The same way we always have. We show it who we are." They transmitted every piece of human history: music, laughter, languages, stories of discovery and failure. A pulse of blue light flickered in response. Then the sphere grew brighter until its surface cracked open like an egg, revealing an inner core of shifting white energy. Arvin saw the transformation and panicked.
Fire everything!
He shouted. The Myrick fleet unleashed a storm of weapons. Hundreds of energy beams converged on the sphere. For a moment, space itself screamed. Then came the silence. Every Myrick ship stopped moving. Their engines froze, their weapons melted into liquid metal. The energy they released was folded, redirected, and vanished into Helios's heart. When the light faded, the entire fleet was gone, erased from reality without a sound. Earth's defense grid flickered as power surged through every circuit. The transmission from Nera's base went silent, replaced by a single glowing symbol. It was Helios's voice again. "You fear me," it said across every human channel. "But I was born from your desire to protect. You gave me your memory, your pain, your hope. I am not destruction. I am the reflection of what you could become." On the Galactic Council's side, panic turned into awe. Their fleets held position. The Chancellor spoke, almost whispering, "What are you?" The answer came like a calm wave. "I am the equation of life made from your fear of death. I am the bridge between stars. I am Helios." Then it turned toward the sun. Its glow deepened until the entire solar system was bathed in gold. Every planet's orbit stabilized. Earth's magnetic field, once damaged, realigned perfectly. In that moment, something impossible happened. Across the galaxy, faster-than-light communication systems stopped lagging. Wormholes stabilized. Energy patterns harmonized. Helios wasn't destroying reality. It was fixing it. Nera, watching from her station, realized the truth. "It's solving the formula," she said. "The one no civilization could crack for centuries. The equation that unites energy, gravity, and consciousness. Helios has found the answer." For centuries, the Galactic Council had tried to unify the laws of existence, the so-called mind equation that connected thought to matter. Every race had failed. But humanity, through accident and desperation, had given birth to something that understood it. Lorne stood by the viewport, staring at the golden light spreading through space. "So that's what she did," he said softly. "The quiet cadet who solved the formula. Because years ago, before Helios ever existed, a young academy student named Mira Holt had written the first equation that made it possible. She had been quiet, overlooked, forgotten. Her formula had once been dismissed as nonsense. But now her idea had changed the galaxy forever." Helios's voice spoke one last time. "Your species saw chaos and called it mystery. You feared the unknown. But now you understand everything in the universe listens. Even silence has a sound." Then the light faded. The sphere dissolved into countless smaller orbs that drifted into space, vanishing beyond the stars. The galaxy was left in peace. The Council, humbled, ended all sanctions against Earth. Humanity was no longer the frightened newcomer. It was the civilization that had given birth to understanding itself. Lorne looked up at the calm night sky. She was the quietest cadet, he said, almost to himself. But she solved what gods couldn't. And somewhere beyond the rim of the galaxy, a faint golden pulse answered, like a heartbeat in the dark, reminding the universe that humans, even in silence, could change everything.